Hello?
There's going to be more POs.
Officer Delilah, are you with us?
I am. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good morning.
Is that you? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Great, so let's get started. So good morning. I'm Parole Officer Trisella. I'm a hearing examiner for the Board of Pardons and Paroles. And this is a revocation hearing concerning Nicholas Burnham, inmate number 417640. Today is Monday, February 24th, 2025, and this hearing is being conducted via video at the Board of Pardons and Parole Central Office in Osborn Correctional Institution. Mr. Burnham, can you please state your full name and DOC inmate number for the record?
My name is Nicholas Bruce Burnham. My inmate number is 417640.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, and public access to this hearing is available via video live stream. Present this morning is Attorney Sirica and Parole Officer Dividler. Attorney Sirica, can you please identify yourself for the record?
Sure. Attorney Alfonzo Sirica, public defender with the Parole Revocation Unit, on behalf of Mr. Burnham.
Thank you. And Officer Dividler, can you please identify yourself for the record?
Parole Officer Megan DeVilder, Parole Officer with Hartford Special Management Unit in Hartford.
Thank you. So this is a revocation hearing to determine whether you have violated the conditions of your release. I will review and make findings of facts as to each of the charges against you. The state, not you, has a responsibility to prove the allegations by a preponderance of evidence, and that is the better or weightier evidence must establish that more probably than not, the allegation is true. If I do not find that there is a preponderance of evidence to support a violation of one or more of the conditions of your parole, I'll reinstate your parole, which means releasing you and placing you back on parole supervision. If I find that you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, I will consider whether or not your parole should be revoked. If I recommend revocation, I will make a recommendation as to the appropriate sanction. A recommendation will be given to the panel for a final decision, and if the panel wishes to impose a sanction beyond my recommendation, a supplemental hearing will be provided to justify additional confinement. You should know that a revocation hearing is an adversarial proceeding, and anything you say at this hearing can be used against you. This hearing is also being recorded. The testimony at today's hearing will be taken under oath. So Mr. Burnham and Officer Dividler, can you please both raise your right hands? Do you solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. So we're going to go over the procedure for the hearing. The first is I will read you your rights. Then we're going to review the parole violation charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you. I'll then we will review and identify the exhibits that have been filed for the record. The state will then have an opportunity to present testimony subject to cross-examination and any relevant documents. After the state is finished, you will have the same opportunity. After considering all the evidence presented, I'll announce my findings. And if I find you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, the state will have an opportunity to speak to your background and history. After the state is finished, you will have the same opportunity. Do you have any questions about the purpose or procedure before we begin?
I do not.
Okay, so we're going to go over your rights that you have for today's hearing. The first is you have the right to be represented by an attorney, and counsel is here present for you. You have the right to receive a written notice of the charges of violation. Did you receive the written notice?
Yes.
He did.
Oh, perfect. You have the right to review the evidence against you before this hearing. You have the right to submit evidence in support of your case. You have the right to call and examine voluntary witnesses, and you have the right to cross-examine adverse witnesses. Do you understand these rights, and are you ready to go forward?
Yes, I do.
Great. So we're now going to review the charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you, and the information underlying each charge. Officer Dividler, can you please read the charges you have brought against Mr. Burnham?
Yes, I can. Charge number 1, restriction on pornography. At no times are you to access, view, or possess any pornographic material by any means. A review of 3 unauthorized and unmonitored cell phones in your possession corroborate that you had the means and did view pornography nearly every day beginning 10/5/2024 until 12/17/2024. Charge number 2, enhanced internet and device monitoring. On 12/17/2024, you were found to be on a dating website, OkCupid. Your only approved electronic device containing the monitoring software did not contain the selfie for the dating profile nor did it contain any activity on the dating website. A thorough review of the monitoring software confirmed the only activity regarding OkCupid on your only approved device occurred on 11/3/2024, as you used it as a secondary verification code to create your dating profile. This information corroborated that you were operating an unapproved and unmonitored electronic device. You admitted that you were in possession of an unapproved device hidden underneath a drawer in your dresser. On 12/17/2024, parole staff and a Connecticut State Police dog handler trained in detecting electronic devices conducted a search of your residence where 3 cell phones were located in the location you described. You are serving a sentence for a sexual offense where the internet was used in the commission. At no time are you to be in possession of any electronic device without monitoring software. Charge number 3, under problem sexual behavior treatment. In accordance with your CT-PSB treatment agreement, at no time are you to be accessing any type of social media. On 12/17/2024, you admitted to having possession of a hidden cell phone. Ultimately, you were in possession of 3 unmonitored, unauthorized, and unreported cell phones, all containing internet access and social media. This violates your CT-PSB agreement. In accordance with your CT-PSB treatment agreement, at no time are you supposed to have any use of dating websites. On 12/17/2024, you were found to have an active profile on a dating website, OkCupid. This violates your CT-PSB treatment agreement. In accordance with your CT-PSB agreement, at no time are you to have possession of any sexually stimulating material on any electronic devices. On 11/13/2024, you were engaging in a sexual role-play text thread and you were sent 3 topless photos. On 12/17/2024, you were in possession of 3 unreported and unmonitored cell phones, all containing sexually stimulating material on phone apps, stored photos, and access through the internet. This again violates your treatment with CT-PSB.
Thank you. Also, the state has filed the following exhibits. Officer Zavala, can you please identify the exhibits you have submitted?
Yes. A is PCS conditions of parole. B, remand to actual custody order. C, parole violation notice. D, the parole violation report. E, the CT-PSB documents. And F, which is including the photograph and video evidence.
I also have a G, an IPPC computer monitor experts reading text. Did you receive that one? So I have 2 notices, it looks like, signed. Oh wait, is that an old notice? That's the old one. Oh.
Yeah, so
I do have 2 notices signed. Do you have 2 notices signed, counsel?
Yeah.
So, Officer Zavala, I have one signed on the 20th of December, which is one you just read. I also have one signed on the 23rd. Does that sound accurate?
that is correct.
Okay, so in addition to the evidence that you have just read, I also have an Exhibit G, which is an IPPC computer monitoring excerpt reading text regarding text messages and images. And I also have an Exhibit H, which is the PVR dated 7/24/2018. Correct? Everybody has that notice?
Yeah.
That's right? Okay. So do you want to make it on the record? I did not receive Exhibit H. I don't know, counsel. You did, but I did not, so I am not going to take Exhibit H into consideration today, which is the PVR. Exhibit H, it says is the PVR from 7/24/2018.
I have it.
Okay.
Okay, me too. So we are not going to take Exhibit H in, but Exhibit G is admitted into evidence as well, okay? So counsel, did you and your client receive the notice of parole violation, the parole violation report, and all the other documents that have been identified? Great. And you had time to review the information?
Yes.
Okay, so I also received a defense exhibits, just one, Exhibit 1, list of parole accomplishments and future plans for parole reinstatement. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Do you need any time to submit any additional evidence?
No.
So then we do not have any witnesses here today. So at this time, it is the state's opportunity to call new witnesses, present evidence, and speak to any of the evidence submitted. So Officer Zavala, would you like to make a statement?
Yes, I would.
Go ahead.
Okay. In 2015, when he was 24 years old, Burnham was found in possession of 277 image files of children, with some under the age of 1 year. He also was in possession of 23 video files of child pornography. This resulted in a 2016 conviction for promoting a minor in obscene performance. He was provided an opportunity as he was released to discretionary parole in 2017. A mere 4 months after his release, he was found to be in possession of a cell phone and 2 laptops. These devices contained pornography to include brutalization, humiliation, dominance, and sadism of females portrayed as young, submissive schoolgirls. Other images consisted of genital mutilation, bestiality, torture, cadavers, images of hanging children, and anime of the same themes. The finding by parole ultimately led to a violation and a new conviction of child pornography in the first degree in 2018. On August 5th, 2022, he was again provided the
Officer
privilege.
Dividler. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop you now because we've all received the PVR. We've read the information. Do you have any additional information regarding the charges specifically?
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
Counsel, PVR.
So it's
I have, and I was going to comment regarding what she's putting on the record, but you beat me to it.
Yeah. So yeah, anything additional to the charges?
Current charges.
Yeah, the current charges.
Yes, please. So through the state's video and photographic evidence provided in this report, it is evident that during this period of supervision, he continues to revert back to behaviors that are the sole reason why he is in our system to begin with. Burnham has a complete disregard for his parole conditions, which creates a great risk to public safety and significantly raises his risk to reoffend. Subject went to great lengths to conceal the use of at least 4 unauthorized electronic devices. He describes how he obtained a cell phone in October and he, quote, was out of control. Once I start, I can't stop, end quote. He described that he eventually destroyed that one phone after about a month, but the addiction is so strong that he inevitably ended up with 3 additional phones. Burnham has participated in both inpatient and outpatient treatment for problem sexual behavior. I even connected him to a private therapist in addition to these other interventions in an effort to provide coping mechanisms for his admitted out of control sexual deviancy so that he would not reoffend. All interventions to treat Burnham have been exhausted and proven unsuccessful. Burnham has admitted to me on numerous occasions that therapy does not work for him and that he receives no benefit for him. The training he has received both in an inpatient and outpatient treatment center has clearly not resonated with him. There is no other therapeutic treatment that can be provided. At the time of
Officer Dividler, there's going to get to the point of the history. So just anything specific to the charges you have brought. So I do want to hear the rest that you're going to say later in the hearing if a finding is made, but anything specific to the 3 charges that you have brought against him?
Yeah, I would also just like to say, when I was alone in my vehicle while state police were searching the residence, he looked at me and stated, "I am almost relieved to be caught so that I didn't progress into physically harming anyone." Not only does he display a propensity for violence, but he is someone who is not amenable to community supervision, and the state is requesting a sanction of at least 18 months. Thank you.
Thank you. Counsel, it is now your opportunity to speak to the charges.
Yeah, just very briefly, it's the state's burden. I just want to make sure the record is clear. She's reading his history where he's convicted and done time on, now relating to the 3 charges that were here. The allegations against my client currently are unauthorized use of cell phones, nothing to do with regarding the actual charge she received a 5-year sentence on with the 10 years of special parole. The current charges brought against my clients are not similar activity as to what he pled to. I just want to make sure the record is clear on that. I know she read his, more or less, in my opinion, his criminal history, but he's been convicted of that, he's been sentenced on that, and he did his time on that. That's all I have for the first part of the hearing.
So I'm gonna just take a moment and I'll let you know my findings. So for charge, number one, I am gonna make a finding, that you violated the condition of restriction on pornography based on the evidence provided in states exhibits A, D, and F. On charge number two, the condition of enhanced internet and device monitoring, I am going to make a finding based on states exhibits A, D, and F. And for charge number three, I am also making a finding that you violated the condition of problem sexual behavior treatment based on states exhibits A, D, E, F, and G. So that does conclude the fact-finding portion of the hearing. Before I do make my recommendation, the state is going to have our opportunity to speak to your background more if she chooses to do so. And after the state is finished, you will have the same opportunity. The purpose of this part of the revocation hearing is to help determine the outcome I will recommend. So Officer Diviler, any additional information you'd like to provide?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And counsel, it is now your opportunity to speak to your client's violation, his background and history.
Thank you. On behalf of Mr. Burnham, my client is 33 years old. If my math is correct here, he was paroled on October 26th of 2023, and looks like he was remanded on December 17th, 2024. He was out in the community for approximately 14 months. And I believe this is his first violation, if my paperwork here is correct. Also, my client's been incarcerated since December 17th of 2024, has not received any disciplinary tickets in the Department of Corrections, to my knowledge. When he was released, he received most of his support from his grandparents, aunts, uncles, and his friends. He did indicate to us, looks like February 8th of 2023 to July 12th of 2023, he did successfully complete the Connection and Patient Problem Sexual Behavior Program at the January Center. And then he was sponsored at his grandparents' residency in Hartford, and he was there until he was remanded. He did indicate to us, looks like just 2024 to 2015, he did receive an associate's degree in criminal justice from Manchester Community College. Had a full-time job at Sonic in Manchester, was there for approximately 15 months. And is listed under behavioral health treatment. He did participate in treatment and also worked with a private therapist. Since he's been incarcerated, he does meet with a mental health worker twice a month at Osborn. And he had a residence on Hammer Street in East Hartford. And for backup, he'd like to go back to his grandparents' house. That's where it was his previous sponsor. He does wish to enroll in the culinary arts program. He did work in a restaurant. I think that's the field he's interested in, and he is amenable to treatment, despite a appeal put on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any additional comments before I make my recommendation?
I just not have it further.
Officer Diviler, are you all set?
Yes, I'm all set. Thank you.
So I'm just gonna take a moment. Okay, so I have listened to the testimony here today. I've also reviewed all of the evidence submitted for the case. And with that, I am going to recommend, Mr. Burnham, your parole be revoked, and that you serve an approximate 6 months period of confinement as a sanction with a re-parole date of June 17, 2025. Did I do my math right? December you came in, right? December, January, February, March, April, May. Yeah. 17. Yep. So June 17, 2025. And I'm going to recommend the following conditions: enhanced internet and device monitor, no contact with minors, problem sexual behavior treatment, restriction on pornography. This address you gave me, self-sponsor, that's his own apartment?
Yes, at one point, but I believe, I don't want to speak for the parole. Nicholas, your grandparents is where you were prior to your remand, correct?
No, that was Hammer Street.
Hammer Street, and that was could you just let the hearing examiner know what type of living situation that was?
It is a 3-family apartment building, which is owned by my grandparents, and I was living there on my own.
So your own apartment by yourself, no one else in the place with you? Okay, so
No.
we'll make note, that that's where you'd like to return, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll make note of it. Obviously, it's, up to Parole Community Services to decide on housing when the time comes, but we'll note that all in the system, okay? So that,
Yes.
my findings and recommendations are going to be forwarded to the board on March 6th, 2025. You should receive the official written decision from the board shortly after. At that hearing, the board can do a few things. They can lessen my recommended sanction, they can adopt it, or they can actually, look to have the sanction be greater than what I recommended. If that does happen where they want to increase it, there'll be another hearing, a supplemental hearing. You'll be notified of it and given the reasons why, because they'll want to talk to you and you'll know what they're looking to ask you about, okay?
Yes.
That does conclude your hearing today. Do you have any questions right now?
No questions.
All right, then we are all set. And this concludes the revocation hearing for Nicholas Burnham, inmate number 417640. All right, thank you.
Nicholas, if
Thank-
you can, call our office the following day. The board reviews are always on Thursdays. If you call our office on March 7th, one of my secretaries can tell you via telephone what the outcome is, and then you'll get something in writing also.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
All right,
All
take
right,
care.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Officer Gladler. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Good morning. Are you Mr. Ruiz?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Officer Goodman, are you with us?
I am. Good morning.
Good
How you
morning.
doing? How you doing, Ms. Goodman?
Good, Edwin. How are you?
Trying to hang in there, man. Sorry about that.
Okay, so good morning. I am Parole Officer Trisella. I'm a hearing examiner for the Board of Pardons and Paroles. This is a revocation hearing concerning Edwin Ruiz, inmate number 399158. Today is Monday, February 24th, 2025, and this hearing is being conducted via video at the Board of Pardons and Parole Central Office in Osborn Correctional Institution. Can you please state your full name and DOC inmate number for the record?
Edwin Ruiz, 399158.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, and public access to this hearing is available via video live stream. Present this morning is Attorney Sirica. Can you please identify yourself for the record?
Sure. Attorney Alfonzo Sirica, public defender with the Parole Revocation Unit on behalf of Mr. Ruiz.
Thank you. And also present is Officer Goodman. Can you please identify yourself for the record?
Sure. Parole Officer Goodman with the Department of Corrections, Parole and Community Services Mental Health Unit.
Thank you. So this is a revocation hearing to determine whether you have violated the conditions of your release. I'll review and make findings of facts as to each of the charges against you. The state, not you, has a responsibility to prove the allegations by a preponderance of evidence, and that is the better or weightier evidence must establish that more probably than not the allegation is true. If I do not find that there's a preponderance of evidence to support the violation of one or more of the conditions of your parole, I'll reinstate your parole, which means releasing you and placing you back on parole supervision. If I find that you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, I will consider whether or not your parole should be revoked. If I recommend revocation, I will make a recommendation as to the appropriate sanction. A recommendation will be given to a panel for a final decision, and if the panel wishes to impose a sanction beyond my recommendation, a supplemental hearing will be provided to justify additional confinement. You should know that a revocation hearing is an adversarial proceeding, and anything you say at this hearing can be used against you. This hearing is also being recorded. The testimony at today's hearing will be taken under oath. So, Mr. Ruiz and Officer Goodman, can you please raise your right hands? Do you solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to go over the procedure for the hearing. So first I'm going to read you your rights. Then we're going to review the parole violation charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you. I'll then review and identify the exhibits filed for the record. The state will then have an opportunity to present all relevant testimony subject to cross-examination and any relevant documents. After the state is finished, you will have the same opportunity. After considering all the evidence presented, I'll announce my findings, and if I find you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, the state will have an opportunity to speak to your background and history, and after the state is finished, you will have the same opportunity. Do you have any questions about the purpose or procedure before we begin?
No, ma'am.
So we're going to go over your rights for today's hearing. The first is you have the right to have legal representation, and counsel's here present for you. You also have the right to receive written notice of the charges of violation. Did you receive the written notice?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
So you also have the right to review the evidence against you before this hearing. You have the right to submit evidence in support of your case. You also have the right to call and examine voluntary witnesses, and you have the right to cross-examine adverse witnesses. Do you understand these rights, and are you ready to go forward?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
Okay, so we're now going to review the charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you and the information underlying each charge. So, Officer Goodwin, can you please read the charges you have brought against Mr. Ruiz?
Yes, ma'am. Under release direction, GPS on 9/27/24, you tampered with your GPS unit by removing it from your person. You are in violation of your conditions of parole, release direction, GPS. Drug testing. On 9/19/24, you tested positive for involuntarily admitted to using illicit substances, specifically cocaine. You're in violation of parole condition, bail laws, drugs. 3. Residence. On 9/27/24, you left the Evelyn Mercer house. Residence of the Evelyn Mercer house reported to the owner you left after an argument with the mother of your child / DV victim. You have not been seen at the property or on the property since. This was your only approved parole residence. You did not have permission from parole to leave said residence. You had no intention of returning to the residence, as evidenced by removing your GPS monitoring device, not paying your weekly rent on 10/4/24, and telling the property owner you were out of town, not returning to the property, and requesting she turn over your property to your wife. You are in violation of your conditions of parole, release direction, residence. Absconder. On 9/27/24, you removed your GPS device from your person. You have not been seen at your residence since. You have not responded to any calls and texts from your parole officer. You told the property owner you were out of town and no longer interested in living at the property, and asked her to turn over your belongings to your wife. Your whereabouts are completely unknown. You are in violation of your parole agreement, condition, release direction, absconder. Obedience to the law. On 10/16/24, an arrest warrant was applied for by Waterbury Police Department for harassment second. On 10/18/24, the arrest warrant was granted by GA4 Waterbury Superior Court.
Thank you. The state has also submitted evidence. So Officer Goodman, can you please identify the exhibits and evidence you have submitted for the case?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
My apologies. I wasn't prepared. I typically am not asked to do that.
Yeah, we all have different ways, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
No,
But yeah.
don't be. I apologize. I have to pull it up. Was unprepared.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Exhibit A, signed parole conditions. Exhibit B, remand to actual custody order. Exhibit C, notice of parole violation, parolee rights. Exhibit D, parole violation report. Exhibit E, GPS monitoring agreement. Exhibit F, Waterbury Police Department case / incident report. Exhibit G, judicial branch criminal conviction case detail. Exhibit H, voluntary drug admission and misconduct. Exhibit I, Allied Universal event history report / email. Exhibit J, DOC disciplinary report. Exhibit K, DOC incident report. Exhibit L, DOC incident report. Exhibit M, text screenshots. Exhibit N, photo request to contact parole. Exhibit O, screenshots from Jackie Montgomery regarding belongings. Exhibit P, Waterbury Police Department arrest warrant.
Thank you. So I have a note, and counsel, if you can confirm, I did not receive Exhibit P. You said Waterbury Police Department arrest. Did you receive that? I have it on the note in one place, but I just went through and I'm trying to open case.
I have.
You have P? Okay, so we're admitting all of that into evidence. Maybe I did review it then. Oh, yes, I'm kidding. I actually do have it. Sorry. So I do have P as well. So those are all admitted. In addition, the state has filed addendums to the parole violation report. Officer Goodman, can you please read the addendums you have submitted for the case?
I didn't submit those addendums. I don't.
Okay.
My apologies. So because
That's
the
okay.
case, was originally assigned to me, but then after he absconded, it was then assigned to the fugitive team.
Got it. So I'll read them then. So I do have them in front of me. So the first addendum was submitted on November 15, 2024, and that's also admitted into evidence, and it reads as followed. In reference to the parole violation report submitted by P.O. Goodwin regarding Edwin Ruiz, inmate number 399158, the following applies. On October 23rd, 2024, the Board of Parole issued a warrant based on the report declaring the offender an absconder from special parole supervision. On 10/29/24, the case was referred to FIU for investigation. On 11/12/24, turned himself into the Waterbury Parole. Remand to custody was lodged with New Haven CC. Ruiz was served his parole violation notice on 11/14/24, and the signed notice of parole violation, parole rights, and remand were scanned into case notes on 11/15/2024. The second one was submitted on January 30th, 2025, and again is admitted into evidence and states that on 1/25/2025, on docket number U04W-CR24-0511844S, Edwin Ruiz pled guilty and was found guilty of harassment second degree and received an unconditional discharge. On docket number U04W-CR24-0508233S, Ruiz pled guilty and was found guilty of violation of probation and received 1 year in jail. Counsel, did you and your client receive the notice of parole violation, the parole violation report, and all the other documents that have been identified?
Yes.
I have received exhibits from the defense. Also, I received exhibit 1, which is a list of parole accomplishments and future plans for program statement. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Do you need any time to submit any additional evidence?
No.
So at this time, we do not have any witnesses. So it is the state's opportunity to call me witnesses, present evidence, and just speak to the evidence submitted and the charges that are being faced by Mr. Ruiz. So Officer Goodwin, would you like to make any comments regarding the charges?
Just regarding the charges, I think they're pretty self-explanatory. I think they speak for themselves. The one thing I do want to point out is that Mr. Ruiz, while he was while he was on the run from parole supervision, he was stopped in Massachusetts by the Massachusetts State Police on the 15th of October in 2024. And I can tell you the exact time I received the phone call, which was 10:24 p.m. He was stopped by the state police, and the state police called me, and at that time the state police put Mr. Ruiz on the phone, and I instructed him to report the next business day to Parole and Community Services because he had been on the run for a period of time. He instructed me that he would report, and he did not report to Parole and Community Services. He didn't respond to any of my text messages, any of my phone calls. However, he had no problem reaching out to his landlord, trying to get his property and belongings from his apartment. So I just wanted to make that clear that he was afforded opportunities to bring himself back into compliance with Parole and Community Services. But he chose not to do that, and he chose to do that on his own time frame.
Thank you. All right, counsel is now your opportunity to speak to the charges.
Yeah, just briefly. P.O. Goodman, it appears Mr. Ruiz was paroled. You showing April 26th, 2024, correct? Is when
I'm sorry, hang on. I lost. Geez, okay. My apologies. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I lost. I'm trying to log back in. Okay. I'm sorry, what was the question again, sir?
My question was, he was paroled approximately April 26th, 2024, released to parole status?
I'd have
Roughly.
to look that up. He was paroled, hang on. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties I'm having.
Okay. Yeah.
He was released. Let me just go over this very briefly. He was released on community release status to Renaissance East on 1/11/23. Let's see. On 10/4/23, he was released again to community release. Let's see here. On 3/6/24, he was released on community release. And he was released on special parole on 4/26/24.
Okay, and were you, so April 26th, 2024 released a special parole, and it looks like the issues began on September 27th of 2024, where under charge number 1, he removed his GPS. I'm assuming you were aware that on July 2nd, Mr. Ruiz was under dual supervision with parole and with the court because of his pending case in court. Are you aware of that?
On July 2nd of 2024?
Yes, he was under.
We were aware that Mr. Ruiz had pending charges when he was released on special parole. We absolutely were aware of that.
Okay, were you aware that bracelet for intensive pretrial supervision was placed on him by the court starting July 2nd, 2020?
It was not. The bracelet was not placed on Mr. Ruiz until he was released from the halfway house.
Okay, what date was that?
Hang on, let me see if I can pull up the RT screens. Hang on 1 second. And it wasn't a probation bracelet, it was ours. We put it on because he had pending cases. Let's see. Password. See. Okay, let's see here. June 24th, the bracelet was put on.
By parole, by you?
Correct.
Okay. So from June 24th till he removed 9/27/24 in this time, there's no issues, correct?
With the exception of him using cocaine, no.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. No issues with the GPS until he tampered with it on 9/27. According to documents I received.
Not that I'm aware of. There might have been a few like glitches, but nothing that caused misconduct.
Okay. And so the bracelet was put on June 24th, 2024, and then the dual supervision started on July 2nd of 2024 because of the pending charges in court, correct?
The dual supervision started when that court case was adjudicated.
Okay.
I believe that court case was adjudicated at some point in August.
Correct, but he was under supervision from July 2nd while the charges were pending.
He was under parole supervision, correct?
All right. And once again, it appears starting September 19th, 2024, September 27th, and then the residence is also 9/27, the absconders 9/27. Mr. Ruiz, on or about September 19th of 2024, did you relapse and start using again?
I used one time.
Okay.
It was just a one-time thing.
Correct. And you're also drinking and you were taking medication for some issues you have, correct?
Yes, I did. That was on the 27th of September.
All right.
Or the day that they have, I removed the bracelet. That was the day I had some drinks.
Okay. And then things kind of went downhill from there. You left parole supervision. Then at some point you did turn yourself in.
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Okay. And then date you went to parole to turn yourself in. What day was that, Edwin?
It was November 12th. It was the day after, I think, Memorial Day or Lincoln's birthday, something like that? Independence Day?
Veterans Day sound more familiar? In November is Veterans Day. It's typically
Veterans Day. Yeah, I'm not too good with national holidays.
All right. But, all right, so and that's what I'm showing the day of remand. So I just briefly regarding the comments, I anticipate you making a finding. I just want to give a little background. He was on dual supervision. It appears from my paperwork here, there were a few months where things were going fairly well, not perfect.
Yeah.
And through his own admission, it appears on September 19th, he did have a relapse. He was on medication, so for some mental health issues. So you take the alcohol, take the cocaine, and you take the medication he's on, not a good mix. I said he'd been out approximately almost 7 months since April 22nd, to special parole status. I just wanted to give you a little background as to what happened with Mr. Ruiz during that time frame. Thank you.
So I'm gonna just take a moment and then I'll let you know my findings. Just want to confirm no other additional comments towards the charges, right, Officer Goodman?
Not necessarily towards the charges, but toward the history. Our biggest concern was.
Wait, hold on one second before you get into it. There's a whole second part we're gonna get into.
Oh.
I want to hear all of that. So yeah,
Understood.
just towards the charges right now.
Understood. My apologies.
No, absolutely. You're great. Let me I just want to get my thoughts together and I'll make my findings. Okay, so on charge number 1, I am going to find Ms. Ruiz that you violated the condition of GPS based on state's exhibits A, D, E, and I. On charge number 2, condition of drug testing, I'm making a no finding as the state failed to submit sufficient evidence in support of the charge. Specifically, he did submit to a drug test from the evidence that I received. So a no finding for drug testing. On charge number 3, I find that you violated the condition of residence based on state's exhibits A, D, and O. On charge number 4, I find that you violated the condition of absconder based on state's exhibits A and D. On charge number 5, I have found that you violated the condition of obedience to the law based on your conviction on January 25th, 2025 of harassment second when you were sentenced to unconditional discharge. In addition, the state's exhibits A, D, E support that charge. So that does conclude the fact-finding portion of the hearing. Before I do make my recommendation, the state is going to have the opportunity to speak to your background history. And after the state is finished, you will have the same opportunity. The purpose of this part of the revocation hearing is to help determine the outcome that I recommend. So Officer Goodman, would you like to make the statement regarding Mr. Ruiz's violation, background history, anything pertinent at this time?
Sure. Yeah, just a very brief. I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible. I did refer to before when Attorney Sirica was asking questions related to dates. And I had said that he was released on community release status at first for January 11th, 2023. He was arrested, I want to say, 3 months later for getting into a physical altercation with another resident at the halfway house. As a result, he was remanded to custody. When he was re-released to community release status at Renaissance East, and in October of that year, he was returned to custody due to drug use and deviating in the community. He was then again re-released on March 6, 2024 on community release status placed at Bishop House. He was returned 5 days later due to a neuter arrest for breach of peace and an assault third. All this is submitted in evidence. He was then again released on special parole, as I said previously, on 4/26/24. So he does have a history of being non-compliant when released in the community on different statuses. Our biggest concern, one of our biggest concerns with Mr. Ruiz was that he had a no contact with who he was identifying and identified in this report as his quote unquote wife. They had just recently had a baby together. We did allow him to be at the hospital, but he was having more contact with her than we were aware of or that was approved. She has also been the victim of his anger and his violence for several of his charges that are related to domestic violence. So even though we had tried to work with Mr. Ruiz and giving him contact so he could be able to see his daughter, when I identified that he was stopped by the Massachusetts State Police, she was with him. He was still on special parole at the time, still had the condition of no contact with her, and continues to disregard the conditions of his release. While Mr. Ruiz appeared to be complying with the conditions of his release, it was learned after the fact that he actually wasn't. And so I just want to make sure that that goes on the record, that not only does he have a substance use problem, we were unaware of the alcohol. So that's going to be helpful in working with him again. But he has an issue with abiding by his conditions, abiding by the law. So not only was he arrested and convicted of the harassment, but there was also a warrant, as I think is documented, for violation of his probation, and he received the same day he received was it an unconditional discharge? If I'm misspeaking, I apologize. On the harassment, he was convicted of violation of probation and sentenced to a year for that violation of probation. My initial recommendation was that his parole revoked for a year, which would also allow him time to serve that 1 year sentence on his probation. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, it's now your opportunity.
Yes, before I speak regarding my part of the background, P.O. Goodman, just a couple of questions. The previous violations were on community release, not special parole, or am I misunderstanding?
No, you're not misunderstanding. They were absolutely on community release, yes.
And
but it's still a release to the community.
I understand.
Yep.
And one of those, you mentioned one of them was a drug use. Did he successfully complete the top program where he was put in the top program for one of those?
He was not placed in the top program that I can see.
Give me 1 second, please.
No, there were no top placements.
I just have one moment. Maybe I missed. Give me 1 second, please.
Sure.
I have exhibit. I apologize. I'm not questioning you, but I know I read that and I'm making sure I'm not losing my mind. Exhibit K, the incident report from the Department of Correction. It says somewhere here, the fourth paragraph, CC with PS Wilkie at 12/28/23, remanded into custody, was authorized for top placement. Do you know?
Yeah, he might have been authorized, but I have no participation. He might have been approved to participate in top, but here's the thing.
That wasn't through you. It wasn't through your.
No.
But, okay.
No.
And so Edwin, you're still under oath. Were you put in the top program?
Yes, I was. On December 28th, I was remanded into custody after 1 or 2 urine tests, if I'm not mistaken, and a deviation on Christmas. I went home because my job was closed.
Did you complete that top program?
Yes, I did complete it. That's how I got out of March.
All right, just want to make sure that's on the record. All right, so my client is 38 years old, does have 2 children, age 26 months. On previous release, he was at the New Opportunities Halfway House program. He has obtained his GED. It reported to us in 2021 while incarcerated at Osborn. Did take some courses in human resources and business management through his Nantucket Community College. He was working at a barbershop. Now, familiar with getting a barbering license in the state of Connecticut, you have to complete a certain amount of hours in order to get a license. He's indicated to us he's done 450 out of the 1,000 hours of barbering through Bell Academy of the Cosmetology in Waterbury. He did have a full-time job, it looks like in May of 2024, full-time in Global Steering Systems in Watertown, also working at a barbershop in Waterbury. He reported to us he did participate in outpatient individual therapy and medication management at Willow Clinic in Waterbury, and did establish primary care services at Willow Clinic Center, and his medical history, including diabetes, epilepsy, and some other physical issues. He was stabbed in the stomach numerous times. As far as hopefully reinstatement, he'd like to be sponsored by his mother, Ms. Rivera. He's given us an address in Hartford, and her phone number is listed in the document I provided to you, with the understanding that P.O. Goodman has to verify all of that. And his backup plan is amenable to being placed in a halfway house in Waterbury, preferably Renaissance East. And if Waterbury doesn't work out, the backup to Waterbury is the Hartford jurisdiction. He does want to complete the barber program. As I indicated, he's completed 450 out of the 1,000 hours. Enroll in a social work program. That's his ultimate goal. He doesn't want to get his barbering license, but wants to be a social worker. Is also interested in obtaining his CDL license, and he's amenable to any opportunities in the community. He reported, as far as, when he gets out, he does have the job still at the barber shop. Edwin, anything you want to add regarding your background to what you're going to attempt to do when you get out? If you want to speak, now's your opportunity.
Yes, I know I've had numerous situations where I'm not perfect, and I take full responsibility for all those times that I've been found in any type of contempt to the law or having to do anything wrong. But I just want to address that I do have schizophrenia. And one of those things that happens to me is that I imagine things sometimes. And yes, I've had drug use issues my entire life. I started sniffing cocaine at the age of 14, even went as far as smoking crack cocaine. And it's hard when I have situations happen. I'm not blaming the parole people for the relapse because I'm a grown man and I take full responsibility for what I did. But the main course of the relapse was the situation about the bracelet that Kim is well aware that they told me when I signed up for the bracelet that they would take it off. The earliest could be when the case was over. So, or 90 days, which 90 days would have been, it was actually from July 2nd. It would have been October 2nd. But they said I would have to do another 7 to 6 months because I was doing anger management with my counselor, Ms. Selena Beckett. I was working. I had to stop school to try to get more money because as far as it is, and I have 7 children at home. And the contact with me and her was not contact because I was not with her the day that I got.
You can't talk about the facts of what happened. I asked you what you're going to do when you get out. You have to stay on track because you're going, not to interrupt you, but you're going off track.
All right. So what I plan on doing when I get out is start over. I have to start over. Whether I go to my mom or whether I go to a halfway house, I have to start over. Regardless of what happens today, that's not going to take me away from my starting over because I know I can do it. And Kim seen me at my best and she witnessed my worst. So she knows that I did try to do my best. And trying is not enough. You know what I'm saying? I did try to do my best. You get what I'm saying? And I sat here and she knows she allowed me to be there for my child's birth. And that was one of my main accomplishments. And I want to be a dad. You get what I'm saying? I want to be a dad. She's only 6 months and I already lost 4. You know what I mean? And that's my main priority. Whether I stay here
comments. And not all parole officers would have allowed you to do that. Hopefully you're aware of that, correct?
Yes, she did. She did, and I appreciate everything she's done for me. I'm not saying Kim did anything wrong. The one that did anything wrong here was me. But I do, as he's already stated, I want to go back to barber school to finish my license because I do have a lawsuit that I won against Johnson & Johnson for gynecomastia. And the next check, that's what I was planning on opening my own shop. You know what I mean? And I have to finish school to be able to do that. I do have a dream because my mother was a DCF foster mother and a social worker. And from what I've seen, all I need is a license and and since my background already clears anything because it's 7 years with no felonies, all these are misdemeanors. Yes, they're crimes, they're serious, they're DBs. But if anything happens, any argument, I get sent back. I'm on special parole. So what I've learned here, being here now and talking to Selena, because I still maintain full contact with Selena Beckett. That's the connection that Kim was stating about me reporting to her. And she said do C-card meeting once a week. And if I messed up, I go back to AAP. I'm not sure what exhibit that is, but I'm still working with her. She came to see me Friday. And it's something that she pointed out to me. It's like the best thing. Whenever I feel like I'm going to mess up from now on, I'm going to just think about my daughter, because that's what's going to push me forward. I didn't have my other daughter in my life, but the fact that I came to incarceration at such a young age and continued, you know what I mean? But I do want to succeed. I'm having this issue, and most of these issues, my mental health. Things happen sometimes I have no control over. I was laying in bed that day when I got home. I had no argument with my wife the day that I cut the bracelet. I had some drinks before leaving the barbershop. When I got home, I seen police cruisers outside because whatever they was doing was pulling somebody over or something up the street, and I thought they was coming for me. So that's when I cut the bracelet, left the house, did all that. Why did that happen? For drinking. I know I was not supposed to be drinking, but taking full accountability for that. I kind of drift off when I speak because I try to say too many things at once. You get what I'm saying? But all I want to do is be able to be successful. And I tell you right now, whatever you decide to do, I wish I could work with Kim in the future because Kim does understand me and know me. And we developed that thing where she knows I don't lie to her. I tell her what it is. You know what I mean? I don't lie. I got caught while lying once, and I'll tell you this. When I walked in and I tried to piss clean, because I had been a whole week without urinating, and when she tested me, I thought it'd be away 3 days, and I told her, Kim, I messed up. I did cocaine, but this was the reason why. You know what I mean? And I just want to say I want to be successful. He stated everything I want to do when I get out.
All right,
That's
thank you,
about it.
Edwin.
Yeah.
It sounds like Goodwin is working with you, but you have been supervision for a bit, a while. So you keep coming back, you're going to be spending more and more time inside DOC, and you have a 6-month-old daughter. I think your therapist said best, when you think you're going to mess up, think about your 6-month-old daughter, and maybe that'll keep you on track. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I just want to say, I just
No,
want
go
to say,
ahead.
if I can, our biggest concern, Edwin, is that you gotta get your anger under control too. I mean, because with all due respect, one more thing I do want to add, at least on the record, so you guys are aware, is that you turned yourself in, but you caught a ticket for fighting a month later.
Can I say something on that?
I don't want you to, but I have to put that on the record because it speaks to the behavior that the state is concerned about and how you ended up getting violated on the special parole and, when you were on the community release. So, hopefully you can take the time that while you're incarcerated to get some of that under control, maybe take some courses, maybe take a group to kind of hone in the anger issues, because that's what's getting you in trouble.
Thank you, Officer Goodwin.
Thank you.
Counsel, any last comments?
I just want to add, regarding the violation of the probation was not part of the PVR, obviously that comes in, but do you have those dates as the max court date and parole eligibility? Do you have all that? I just wanted to make sure. So I did go over those with Mr. Ruiz, and I told him it was probably going to play a role in the hearing here today.
It does. So I'm going to just take a moment, get my thoughts together. A lot of information was just given. So, so I have reviewed all the evidence submitted as well as the Mr. Ruiz's record. The testimony today provided additional information. And I just want to put on the record, Mr. Ruiz, unfortunately, it is concerning to me. Your situation, I know that those prior violations were on community release, but just to confirm, that is for this instant offense, correct? That's for this sentence. You weren't out long. It's just, and this is a criminal violation with a repeat victim. So I'm just very concerned at this point. So I am going to recommend that your parole be revoked. And I'm also recommending that you serve an approximate 1 year and 5 month period of confinement as a sanction. That's a re-parole date of November 17, 2025, which is also the EOS of the VOP. I don't know if council cares, but that's the date. I'm going to recommend the following conditions: no alcoholic beverages, behavioral management program for anger management and domestic violence, a general no contact with JAN and AS and the family of BA, EO, and JR. A general no contact with YR without your parole officer's permission. Am I getting these right? Is this what you guys have? Because I also see an AS. Hold on. Let me just think one more time. So let me find the conditions. Find conditions. So I just want to make sure I have everything correct. I'm sorry, just one moment. There we go. All right. So I'm gonna go over the conditions one more time. Sorry, bear with me. So on top of the recommended sanction, I'm recommending the no alcoholic beverage consumption, behavioral management program for anger management and domestic violence. Okay, so I do have a general no contact with JAN and AS in the family of BA, EO, and JR. Halfway house placement, you don't need, correct? We have a sponsor, we have your mother, and mental health evaluation. So did I confuse everybody or is everybody okay?
No, we're good.
You're good? All right. So that is my recommended sanction. It is going to go to the board on March 6th of 2025. Mr. Ruiz, you will receive a written notice after that date of their decision. At that hearing, the board can do a few things. They can lessen my recommended sanction. The earliest date would be that parole eligibility date, which I have as May 17th, 2025. So they can, that's the earliest that they can give you. They can adopt my recommended sanction, or they can ask to see you at a supplemental hearing if they want to impose a sanction longer than what I have recommended, okay? Do you have any questions at this point, Mr. Ruiz?
I don't understand the recommendation, how that goes for the first time.
Yep, she gave you the same date as the court date, as we discussed. So your re-parole date is 11/17/25. It has to go to the board for review. Edwin, that's happening on March 6th. And the board can adopt it. They can give you more or they can give you less if they choose to, but we won't know that until March 6th. But you'll get something, you and I will get something in writing about 7 to 10 days after March 6th, telling you what the final outcome is. If there's an issue with the recommendation, I will set up another call with you.
All right.
All right, good luck to you.
So this concludes the revocation hearing for Edwin Ruiz, and I'm going off the record. Thank you, Officer Goodman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Bye,
Thank you.
Edwin.
Yeah.
Oh, be good.
Oh, Mitchell.
Mr. Mitchell, I'll be right with you. I'm going to I have to change my batteries and I'm going to go find your attorney, okay?
Okay.
All right, thanks. Sorry, Mr. Mitchell. Your attorney is in with another hearing, so as soon as he's done, we'll get started, okay?
Okay.
Thanks. Good morning. Are you ready, Mr. Mitchell?
Yeah.
Good. All right, cool. The camera will overfocus. There you go. So good morning. I'm Parole Officer Trusello. I'm a hearing examiner for the Board of Pardons and Paroles. And this is a revocation hearing concerning Terence Mitchell, inmate number 231482. Today is Monday, February 24th, 2025, and this hearing is being conducted via video at the Board of Pardons and Paroles Central Office and Osborn Correctional Institution. Can you please state your full name and DOC inmate number for the record?
Terence Mitchell, 231482.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yep, this is a public hearing and public access to this hearing is available via video live stream. Present this morning is Attorney Famiglietti. Can you please identify yourself for the record?
Certainly. Good morning. Public Defender Robert Famiglietti of the Parole Revocation Office. Hello, sir.
Thank you. This is a revocation hearing to determine whether you have violated the conditions of your release. I will review and make findings of facts as to each of the charges against you. The state, not you, has a responsibility to prove the allegations by a preponderance of evidence, and that is the better or weightier evidence must establish that more probably than not, the allegation is true. If I do not find that there is a preponderance of evidence to support a violation of one or more of the conditions of your parole, I'll reinstate your parole, which means releasing you and placing you back on parole supervision. If I find that you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, I will consider whether your parole should be revoked, and if I recommend revocation, I will make a recommendation as to the appropriate sanction. The recommendation will then be given to a panel for a final decision, and if the panel wishes to impose a sanction beyond my recommendation, a supplemental hearing will be provided to justify additional confinement. You should know that a revocation hearing is an adversarial proceeding, and anything you say at this hearing can be used against you, and this hearing is being recorded. Counsel, I plan to swear your client in. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right, so today's testimony, the testimony at today's hearing will be taken under oath. So Mr. Mitchell, can you please raise your right hand? You solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to help you God upon penalty of perjury.
I do.
Thank you. You're all set. Yeah, you can lower your hand. So we're going to go over the procedure for today's hearing. First, I'm going to read you your rights. Then we're going to review the parole violation charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you. I'll then review and identify the exhibits filed for the record. State is not present at today's proceedings. However, you will have an opportunity to present any relevant testimony and any relevant documents. After considering all the evidence presented, I'll announce my findings. And if I find that you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, you will have an opportunity to speak to your background and history. If Do you have any questions about the purpose or procedure before we begin?
No.
So we're going to go over your rights for today's hearing. The first right you have is the right to be represented by an attorney, and counsel is here present for you. You also have the right to receive the written notice of charges of violation. Did you receive the written notice?
Yes.
Perfect. You also have the right to review the evidence against you before this hearing. You have the right to submit evidence in support of your case. You have the right to call and examine voluntary witnesses and to cross-examine adverse witnesses. Do you understand these rights and are you ready to go forward?
Yes.
So we're going to review the charges that the state your parole officer is bringing against you and the information underlying each charge. So on charge number 1, condition of reporting, the charging officer reported that on 10/21/24, this officer spoke with the parolee via telephone about his recent GPS curfew violation and GPS shutdown. The offender explained that his charger broke and he could not charge his GPS. The parolee was instructed to report to the Hartford District Office for a new charger and to sign a misconduct, but failed to do so. The parolee was aware of this officer's instructions and he did not report as instructed. On 10/22/24, parolee reported to the lobby of Hartford District Office, but refused to enter the office and ask for a supervisor. This officer was then accompanied by a supervisor to the lobby, but the parolee had left the building. This officer contacted the parolee via telephone, who stated, "You took too long and I had to go to work." Parolee was then instructed to report 4 o'clock a.m., which he failed to do so. On 10/25/24, this officer conducted a home visit to the residence of aunt/sponsor Rona Slappy. A sweep of the residence was conducted and Mitchell was not present. This officer left my contact info, a card with reporting instructions for 10/28/24 at 10 a.m. and a charger for the parolee's GPS unit. On 10/28/24, the parolee did not report to the Hartford District Office as directed and failed to charge his GPS unit. Charge number 2, condition of GPS. The charging officer reported that on 5/8/24, parolee was advised of his 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew. Parolee failed to comply with his GPS curfew on the following days. On 6/10/24, the parolee returned home past his curfew at 9:12 p.m. On 6/20/24, the parolee left his home at 9:04 and returned at 9:48 p.m. He left his home again at 9:58 p.m. and returned home at 10:03 p.m. On 7/28/24, the parolee had a GPS shutdown at 5:46 a.m. and it did not clear until 7:09 a.m. On 9/2/24, the parolee returned home past his curfew at 1:35 a.m. On 9/4/24, the parolee had a GPS shutdown. At his home. Let me put it down. At his home past his curfew. Oh, we did that one. On 9/4/24, the parolee had a GPS shutdown at 12:27 a.m. and it did not clear until 4:50 a.m. On 9/9/24, the parolee left his home at 2:04 a.m. and returned home at 2:51 a.m. He left again at 10:44 p.m. and returned home at 11:30 p.m. On 10/17/24, the parolee returned home past his curfew at 10:48 p.m. On 10/18/24, the parolee had multiple violations. He left his home at 12:22 a.m. and returned home at 1:42 a.m., left again at 1:47 a.m. He left his home and returned at 2:49 a.m. and then again leaving his home at 3:36 a.m., returning at 3:59 a.m. He also had a GPS shutdown on 10/18/24 at 11:31 a.m. and did not clear until 2:19 p.m. The GPS unit has been shut down since 6:47 a.m. on 10/19/24, and the parolee's whereabouts are unknown. Multiple attempts have been made to contact the parolee, which are unsuccessful, and a GPS charger was left with the sponsor at his parole-approved residence. On charge number 3, condition of curfew, the charging officer reported that on 6/10/24, the parolee left home at 2:05 a.m. and returned at 2:27 a.m. He left home again at 2:47 a.m. and returned home at 2:58 a.m. The parolee also returned home past his 9 p.m. curfew at 9:12 p.m. On 6/22/24, the parolee left his home at 9:04 p.m., returned home at 9:48 p.m. He left his home again at 9:58 p.m. and returned home at 10:03 p.m. On 9/2/24, the parolee returned home past his curfew at 1:35 a.m. On 9/9/24, the parolee left his home at 2:04 a.m. and returned home at 2:51 a.m. He left again at 10:44 p.m. and returned home at 11:30 p.m. On 10/17/24, the parolee returned home past his curfew at 10:48 p.m. On 10/18/24, the parolee had multiple violations. He left his home at 12:22 a.m., returned at 1:42 a.m., left again at 1:47 a.m., returned at 2:49 a.m., and then again at 3:36 a.m., returning at 3:59 a.m. On charge number 4, condition of absconder, Charging officer reported that on 10/22/24, the parolee was instructed to report to the district office on 10/23/24, which he failed to do so. On 10/25/24, this officer conducted a home visit. Aunt/sponsor Rona Slappy opened the door and allowed us into the residence. A sweep of the residence was conducted. Mitchell was not present. This officer left my contact info and a card with reporting instructions for 10/28/24. At 10 a.m. and a charger for Mr. Mitchell's GPS unit. On 10/28/24, the parolee did not report to the Hartford District Office as directed, and he failed to charge his GPS unit. For charge number 5, condition of obedience to the law, the charging officer reported that on 12/3/24, on a public street in the city of Hartford, parole officers attempted to take you into custody on a warrant for re-imprisonment issued by the BOPP on 10/20/2024. You failed to comply with the officer's verbal commands and actively resisted apprehension, attempting to flee, tensing your muscles, pulling away, and dropping your weight. Your actions placed you in violation of Connecticut General Statute 53A-167A, interfering, resisting, 53A-181, breach of peace, and 53A-182, disorderly conduct. On 12/3/24, you were in possession this is drugs. So on charge number 6, condition of drugs, the charging officer reported that on 12/3/24, you were, is this drugs? No, this is also, this is also obedience to the law. So on 12/3/24, you were in possession of crack cocaine. As a result of your actions, you were issued a misdemeanor summons by Hartford Police Department for violation of Connecticut General Statute 21A-279, illegal possession of narcotics, with an appearance date of 12/12/2024 at Hartford Superior Court, GA 14. And for charge number 6, condition of drugs, the charging officer reported that on 12/3/24, you were in possession of a white rock-like substance. The substance weighed 1.3 grams and tested positive for cocaine. The state has filed exhibits, and I have remarked them for identification purposes. So I have Exhibit A, the Parole and Community Services signed conditions, Exhibit B, the remand, Exhibit C, the notice of parole violation, notice of parole rights, Exhibit D, the GPS agreement, Exhibit E, the offender misconduct, Exhibit F, the Allied Universal event history, Exhibit G, the Hartford Police Department incident report case number 24-031071, and I guess I didn't remark them. I've just added Exhibit H, which was a parole violation report. Okay, sorry about that. So just adding Exhibit H.
I did receive the parole violation report.
Okay, perfect.
You have an addendum?
Yeah, the state has submitted 3 addendums. My interpretation counsel, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do have all 3, but I see that 1 and 2 are 30. Okay, so I'm only so the first one was submitted on December 6, 2024. The second one was submitted on January 13, 2025. The third one on January 14, 2025, which, like I just mentioned, is a combination of 1 and 2. So I'm just going to read number 3. So it states, in reference to the parole violation report submitted by Pio Hernandez regarding Terence Mitchell, inmate number 231482, the following applies. On 11/20/2024, the Board of Pardons and Paroles issued a warrant for re-imprisonment based on that report. The case was subsequently transferred to the Fugitive Investigation Unit and assigned to Parole Officer Howlett on 11/25/24. On 12/3/24, Mitchell was apprehended by FIU. When officers made initial contact with Mitchell, he failed to comply with verbal commands and actively resisted apprehension, attempting to flee, tensing his muscles, pulling away, and dropping his weight. Although not criminally charged, Mitchell's actions placed him in violation of Connecticut General Statute 53A-167A, interfering, resisting, 53A-181, breach of peace, and 53A-182, disorderly conduct. At the time of his apprehension, Mitchell was in possession of crack cocaine. As a result, Mitchell was issued a misdemeanor summons by Hartford Police Department for a violation of Connecticut General Statute 21A-279, illegal possession of narcotics, with an appearance date of 12/12/2024 at Hartford Superior Court. Following his apprehension, parole officers transported Mitchell to Hartford Correctional Center, where a remand to custody order was lodged with A&D. On 12/6/24, Mitchell was served with this notice of parole violation, the parole rights at Hartford Correctional Center, the signed notice of parole violation, parole rights, remand to custody order, and Hartford Police Department case incident report number 24031071 have been uploaded case notes and listed in parole violation evidence. On January 6, 2025, Mitchell appeared in Hartford Superior Court, GA 14, under docket number H14H-CR24-076780S. At that time, Mitchell pled guilty to 21A-2798, possession of controlled substance first offense, and sentenced to unconditional discharge. Counsel, did you and your client receive the notice of parole violation reports, and all the other documents that have been identified?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. I have also received an exhibit from you, which is Exhibit 1, a list of parole accomplishments and plans for future parole reinstatement. Is that accurate?
Yes.
All right. Do you need any additional time to submit any other evidence of this?
No.
So we do not have any witnesses today. So it is the defense's opportunity to call any witnesses, present evidence, and speak to the charges or any of the evidence submitted.
Yes, charge 4 absconder. There's absolutely no allegations that his whereabouts were unknown. There's absolutely no allegation that he left his residence. All it says is that they conducted a home visit and he wasn't present and he left the car. That's the only evidence in there. And the first part of it was the parolee was instructed to report at the district office on 10/23, and he failed to do so. That's also not an absconder violation. So I don't believe there's any evidence in charge 4 to meet the preponderance standard. As to charge 5, the first portion, there's no arrest. There was no warrant for any of that conduct was allegedly interfering. I think it's clear my client was at work. He's a flagger. He's doing traffic at 3:30 in the afternoon. Cars roll up on him and 4 or 5 officers come out with guns to take him into custody. No one says, hey, we're here to get you. No, they have their guns pulled. It's 10 degrees out. They try to throw him to the ground. It's cold. He doesn't want to get down on the ground. It's cold. It's 10 degrees out. There's ice and snow on the ground, and they pepper spray him. His arms start flailing about. Obviously, he's trying to, they're thinking he's resisting. He's trying to get the pepper spray out of his eyes. He can't see. He can barely breathe. So I certainly don't think that there's any intent there to resist arrest, breach of peace, disorderly conduct. And there was no arrest whatsoever, no probable cause finding. Thank you.
Thank you. So I am just going to take a quick recess. I just want to go over something, and I will be right back on this. Okay?
Sure.
I'm going to leave the video, the what is that, microphone on, but Mr. Mitchell, this is live stream, so just.
So we don't want to say anything.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know that the officer is going to review, we're arguing for the preponderance standard as to whether or not, which of these allegations she believes there's sufficient evidence to prove. And then afterwards, we will argue as to what we think an appropriate sanction is, any mitigating factor. So that's why I stopped arguing then and didn't say a lot of the stuff I was going to say, okay? So just sit patiently, okay, sir?
All right.
Thank you.
Scheduled today. I thought I'd be off schedule today.
No, it's fine.
It's always something. All right,
You know, always
thank you.
There's-
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no. 1 second, Mr. Mitchell, and then I'm gonna go back on the record.
Okay.
Right, so I am going back on the record now. I have reviewed again documents submitted, the evidence submitted, and I have listened to the testimony. With that, I'm going to announce my findings. So on charge number 1, I do find that you violated the condition of reporting based on exhibits A and H. On charge number 2, I'm also finding that you violated the conditions of GPS based on exhibits A, D, E, F, and H. On charge 3, I find that you violated the condition of curfew based on exhibits A, D, E, F, and H. On charge number 4, I am going to find that you violated the condition of absconder based on exhibits A and H. Specifically, there was information in the PVR stating that the officer had been trying to contact you for approximately a month before they got the absconder warrant issued. On charge number 5, I'm also finding that you violated the condition of obedience to the law based on your conviction for Connecticut General Statute 21A-279A, possession of controlled substance, on January 6, 2025, when you were sentenced to unconditional discharge. And I'm finding that you violated both the obedient part 1 and 2 based on your behavior during the situation. So the evidence that supports this charge is exhibit A, H, and G. And on charge number 6, I find that you violated the condition of drugs based on the evidence provided in states exhibits A, H, and G. So that does conclude the fact-finding portion of the hearing. Before I make my recommendation, you will have an opportunity to speak to your background and history. Go ahead.
Sure. My client is single. He's 48 years of age. He gets his primary source of support from his aunt, Rona Slappy. He has 2 adult children, aged 29 and 25, who reside in Connecticut. He attended Capital Workforce Partners, Best Chance for a Second Chance, obtained his OSHA 10 forklift license and scaffolding license. He had worked in the past full-time, 3rd shift at ADUSA. He was in that position for about 90 days until he got the job and his OSHA 10 and started doing traffic control at the time of his remand. And actually at his remand, he was working full-time at Precise Traffic Control, Waterbury. He began in August and was employed at the time of remand. He participated in CRT, primary care through UConn. He's on a job list, waiting list at Osborn Correctional Institution for the kitchen. He wishes to be sponsored by his aunt at Thomason Street in Hartford. He wishes to enroll in tractor training school to obtain his CDLB, eligible to return back to the traffic control, and he aspires to work for National Water Main Cleaning. My client is adamant that he had been working with Parole or trying to work with the parole supervisor, Gordon, to get off of the GPS. He didn't think he needed to be on the GPS. That's why he reported to Parole. One of the misreports, he waited and said he left earlier, was actually waiting to speak to the supervisor about that. He was working. He had no dirty urines. He had no arrests other than when he was taken into custody at gunpoint, they found a small amount of drugs in his pocket. So it's not as though he had a large amount of drugs. It's not as though he was selling those drugs. He just merely had them in his pocket. He got an unconditional discharge for that. Charges 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all about his basically being a little slack with his curfew and missing a couple of times, all within a week. 10/21, 10/22, 10/23, 10/25, and then unfortunately he was gone for about 3 to 4 weeks. He was just very frustrated. He was frustrated with the fact that he was trying to get off the GPS. He didn't think he should have been on there. He gave the paperwork to his new officer, Lagon. He wanted to know why. His charge was back in 2017. His registry was up in 2022 for the gun charge. And he just was frustrated because he's working. They knew exactly where to find him. There's no violence. I don't believe a lengthy sanction is necessary here. The only graduated interventions and sanctions are the failure to reports and curfew violations, nothing else. He didn't leave his sponsor, never left his sponsor, may have come on in contact with Parole briefly. This is his first violation, I believe, and his parole officer was leaving it up to the board. He's been incarcerated now since December 3rd. He missed the holiday with his family. I don't think a lengthy sanction is necessary or appropriate. We ask that he be released in early March. Thank you.
Thank you. So I did listen to the testimony today, and I have reviewed all of the evidence again. So with that, I am going to recommend your parole be revoked, Mr. Mitchell, and that you serve an approximate 4-month period of confinement. That's with the sanction and a referral date of April 3rd, 2025. I'm going to recommend the following conditions: no alcoholic beverage consumption, behavioral management program for anger management, no contact with victim DH, a mental health evaluation. I do have the information for your sponsor. I am going to put it in the system, but it is not up to me to decide on housing. So I'm also going to do a halfway house stipulation in case if anything is needed with that.
As a backup.
As a backup, okay? Do you have any, my recommendation will go to the board on the 6th of March, and they will decide whether to adopt my recommended sanction. They can also lower it if they choose to do so, or they can ask for a supplemental hearing if they want to impose a sanction longer than what I have recommended, okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Mitchell?
So April 6th, your case goes to the board. We won't
March
be,
6th.
March 6th. We won't be there, okay?
All right.
Call me on March 7th, and I'll let you know whether or not they adopted the April 3rd, is it?
April 3rd.
April 3rd date. So hopefully you'll be released on April 3rd. Okay, sir?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day, sir.
Have a nice day. You too.
This concludes the revocation hearing for Terence Mitchell. Thank you. Inmate number 231482.
All right.
You all said thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
You too.
Go back.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You're welcome. You too.
Officer Hudabengo, are you with us? Why is that not?
Officer Hudabenko, if you can hear me, press *6 to unmute.
Kristen.
Hi, how are you?
Good morning. Sorry I'm running behind. I'm trying to connect with Cheshire, but Kristen, it's not working. It's red.
Sorry, what?
Oh, I'm not talking. Hold up, Kristen. It's in a call, it says.
Yeah, I hear you. Let me take a look.
Oh, hold on, let me do this. Would it be easier? Let me see if I can just do the Teams one. That might be easier. I know I said the call, but let me see if I can just join the live event and if that is easier.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, no, not at all. Would it be easier if I hang up and then just try it in Teams real quick?
You can, because I'm having a problem connecting to Cheshire, so we have some time.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I just hung up the phone call. This will probably work easier. Good
Yeah,
morning.
absolutely. Good morning. Thank you.
No problem.
Should I call them?
I just got off the phone with Cheshire, and they're gonna contact the video room to get this resolved.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You're the best.
We'll keep an eye on their status and then dial them when I see that they're available.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna call Bridgeport and let them know I'm running behind. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. He's coming.
Okay, great, thank you.
Alrighty. What's going on, brother? You all right? Yeah. You been good?
Yes,
All right, puppy. Nice seeing you, man.
All right.
Good? All right. I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Going out.
Kristen, I know I said it, but just FYI, I already called Bridgeport and said I'm behind, okay?
Thank you. I did hear that. I just couldn't respond at the time because I was on the phone.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate your help.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Ask as many questions as I can, please. I take it back out, we're coming in right now. This is so much different than a hybrid. You just want to put it in, you're taking out, but that's it. You got a guy on one side, you got a guy on the other side. That's it. Yeah, I'm coming. Goodwin?
All right, we're gonna get started. Good morning, Mr. Goodwin. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Good, thanks. So I am Parole Officer Trisella. I'm the hearing examiner for the Board of Pardons and Paroles. And this is a revocation hearing concerning Jesse Goodwin, inmate number 280348. Today is Monday, February 24th, 2025, and this hearing is being conducted via video at the Board of Pardons and Parole Central Office and Cheshire Correctional Institution. Can you please state your full name and DOC inmate number for the record?
Jesse Goodwin, 280348.
Thank you. This is a public hearing and public access to this hearing is available via video live stream. Present this morning is Attorney Sirica and Parole Officer Hudabanco. Attorney Sirica, can you please identify yourself for the record?
Sure. Attorney Alfonzo Sirica, public defender with the Parole Revocation Unit on behalf of Mr. Goodwin.
Thank you. And Officer Hudabanco, can you please identify yourself for the record?
Sure. Good morning. Nicholas Hudabanco, Parole Officer, Hartford Special Management Unit.
Thank you. So this is a revocation hearing to determine whether you have violated the conditions of your release. I will review and make findings of facts as to each of the charges against you. The state, not you, has a responsibility to prove the allegations by preponderance of evidence, and that is the better or weightier evidence must establish that more probably than not the allegation is true. If I do not find that there's a preponderance of evidence to support a violation of one or more of the conditions of your parole, I will reinstate your parole, which means releasing you and placing you back on parole supervision. If I find that you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, I will consider whether or not your parole should be revoked. And if I recommend revocation, I will make a recommendation as to the appropriate sanction. The recommendation will then be given to the panel for a final decision. And if the panel decides to wishes to impose a sanction beyond my recommendation, a supplemental hearing will be provided to justify additional confinement. You should know that a revocation hearing is an adversarial proceeding, and anything you say at this hearing can be used against you. This hearing is also being recorded. The testimony at today's hearing will be taken under oath. So Mr. Goodwin and Officer Hudabango, can you both please raise your right hands? You solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Thank you. So we're going to go over the procedure for the hearing. First, I'm going to read you your rights. Then we're going to review the parole violation charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you. We'll then review and identify the exhibits that have been filed for the record. The state will then have an opportunity to present all relevant testimony subject to cross-examination and any relevant documents. After the state is finished, you will have the same opportunity. After considering all the evidence presented, I will announce my findings, and if I find that you have violated one or more of the conditions of your parole, the state will have an opportunity to speak to your background and history, and after the state is finished, you will have the same opportunity. Do you have any questions about the purpose or procedure before we begin?
No.
So we're going to go over your rights for today's hearing. The first right is that you have the right to be represented by an attorney, and counsel is here present for you. You'll also have the right to receive the written notice of charges of violation. Did you receive the written notice?
Yes, I did.
Perfect. So you also have the right to review the evidence against you before this hearing. You have the right to submit evidence in support of your case. You have the right to call and examine voluntary witnesses, and you have the right to cross-examine adverse witnesses. Do you understand these rights, and are you ready to go forward?
Yes.
So we're now going to review the charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you, and the underlying information for each charge. So Officer Hudabango, can you please read the charge details that you have brought against Mr. Goodwin?
Absolutely. So charge 1 under GPS. On 4/21/2024, you disregarded your signed GPS monitoring agreement and parole officer's instructions, as you did not return to your parole-approved residence for your 9 p.m. curfew. You were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior. On 12/19/2024, you allowed your GPS unit battery to shut down at 12:08 a.m., and it remained shut down until 7:02 a.m., resulting in 6 hours and 54 minutes that your whereabouts were unknown. Your actions violate your signed GPS monitoring agreement, and you were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior. Charge 2 under curfew on 4/21/2024, you disregarded your signed GPS monitoring agreement and your parole officer's instructions, as you did not return to your parole-approved residence for your 9 p.m. curfew. You were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior. Charge 3, program participation. On 6/26/2024, your IOP treatment provider notified your parole officer that you had missed all 3 sessions of IOP treatment for this week. You were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior. On 7/15/2024, your IOP clinician notified your parole officer that you had missed IOP sessions on 6/3, 6/17, 6/18, 6/24, 7/8, 7/10, and 7/15. You were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior. On 8/30/2024, during an unannounced home visit, you were found with a dog in your apartment in violation of Chrysalis program rules. Your actions violate your signed Chrysalis program agreement, and you were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior. Charge number 4, obedience to the law. On 2/6/2024, 8/6/2024, and 11/5/2024, you failed to verify your address with the sex offender registry in violation of your legal requirements. Subsequently, on 1/2/2025, you were arrested by the Hartford Police Department and charged accordingly. On 1/3/2025, you were arraigned at Hartford GA 14, where probable cause was determined, and you have a next court date of 2/10/2025 on docket number H14H-CR25-06768-352-S. Charge 5, drugs. On 5/16/2024, you rendered a urine screen at Hartford District Office that was positive for cocaine and subsequently was sent out for lab analysis. That lab analysis confirmed you used cocaine. You were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior. Charge number 6, travel. You traveled out of state on 7/10/2024 to Springfield, Massachusetts with no prior approval or travel pass in place. in violation of your signed parole agreement as well as your parole officer's instructions. You signed a misconduct for your behavior. Charge number 7, no consumption of alcoholic beverages. On 4/4/2024, you rendered a urine screen at the Hartford District Office that was sent out for lab analysis for alcohol consumption. That lab analysis confirmed you consumed alcohol. You were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior. On 8/1/2024, you rendered a urine screen during reporting at the Hartford District Office that was sent out for lab analysis. That lab analysis confirmed you consumed alcohol. You were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior. On 10/22/2024, you rendered a urine screen with your relapse prevention treatment provider as required. Lab analysis of this sample subsequently confirmed you had consumed alcohol. You were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior. On 10/29/2024, you rendered a urine screen with your relapse prevention treatment provider as required. Lab analysis of this sample subsequently confirmed that you had consumed alcohol. You were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior. And charge number 8, problem sexual behavior treatment. On 5/9/2024, you were on the grounds of Bloomfield High School from 6:07 p.m. until 7:53 p.m., resulting in 1 hour and 46 minutes that you were in an unapproved location where minors frequent. Your actions violate your signed CTPSB treatment agreement. You were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior. On 7/9/2024, you were at Crystal Lake Park in Middletown from approximately 3:06 p.m. to 7:47 p.m. You did not have permission to go to a state park, and your actions violated your signed CTPSB treatment agreement. You were issued and signed a misconduct for your behavior.
You. You have also filed exhibits. Can you please identify the exhibits that you have submitted? Officer Hoodbingo.
Absolutely. So Exhibit A, parole agreement. Exhibit B, remand to custody. Exhibit C, notice of parole violation. Exhibit D, parole violation report. Exhibit E, Hartford PD arrest warrant. Exhibit F, judicial pending case detail. Exhibit G, offender misconduct reports. Exhibit H, lab analysis results. Exhibit I, GPS monitoring agreement. Exhibit J, CTPSB treatment agreements. Exhibit K, email correspondence. Exhibit L, voluntary admission form. Exhibit M, attendee GPS evidence. Exhibit N, chrysalis program agreement. And Exhibit O, BOPP decision information summary.
Thank you. And you also filed an addendum, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Can you please read the addendum you submitted on February 11th, 2025?
Sure, give me 1 second to pull that up. That addendum read on 2/10/2025, the offender was found guilty on count 3 of 54-251 failure to register and sentenced to an unconditional discharge on docket number H14H-CR25-0768352-S at GA14. Counts number 1 and 2 of 54-251 failure to register were nollied.
Thank you. Counsel, did you and your client receive the notice of parole violation, the parole violation report, and all the other documents that have been identified?
Yes.
In addition, I have received exhibits from the defense. I have received Exhibit 1, a list of parole accomplishments and future plans for parole reinstatement. Exhibit 2, the SMS letter of support from Juan Martinez, brother of Norma. Exhibit 3, the SMS letter of support from Sonia Martinez, sister of Norma. Exhibit 4, the letter from Chrysalis Center confirming residential status. Exhibit 5, the business flyer and customer quote for power washing equipment that for client's new power washing business. Exhibit 6, the pay stubs dated 4/5/2024 and 4/12/2024 for client from SJM Landscaping LLC. Exhibit 7, a certificate of accomplishment, CRT Behavioral Health Services. Exhibit 8, the letter of acceptance, Wings of Hope Sober Living House, detailing terms and conditions. Exhibit 9, the SMS message from UPS with employment opportunities for client. Exhibit 10, the photo of damaged GPS with duct tape, and Exhibit 11, pay stubs dated 12/13/2024 for client. Is that all accurate, counsel?
Yes.
And do you need any time to submit any additional evidence at this point? So we do not have any witnesses. So at this time, it is the state's opportunity to call any witnesses, present evidence, and speak to the evidence submitted and the charges submitted. So Officer Goodwin, would you like to make any comments regarding the charges that you have brought against Mr. Goodwin?
Sure. Thank you very much. I mean, I would just like to say that, the criminal charges have been disposed of within charge number 4. But the board has not had the opportunity to provide an appropriate sanction for the 7 other charges of parole violating behavior that Goodwin has exhibited throughout his parole supervision. He's been consuming alcohol and cocaine throughout his supervision, as evidenced in the report. He's disregarded IOP, substance abuse treatment, and his problem sexual behavior treatment. His continued use of alcohol and cocaine mirrors his behavior before his instant offense. That was added in the evidence in the decision information summary to remind the board that he was under the influence of both alcohol and cocaine when he committed the instant offense. In regards to the evidence and exhibits that have been submitted regarding the power washing business, there's no record in the state of Connecticut. There's no license provided to an NM power washing. Mr. Goodwin has never brought that business to my attention. There's no pay stub verification of that business existing. And yeah, I mean, again, the evidence I think just speaks for itself in regards to the violation. He signed his treatment agreement 7 days before he went to Bloomfield High School and was well aware he's not to be around schools. He's not to be in parks where minors frequent. And I just think the report and the evidence provided just illustrate the disregard he's had both for the law in terms of verifying his address with the sex offender registry as well as his parole conditions.
Thank you. Counsel, is now your opportunity to make a statement.
Sure. Mr. Goodwin, on charge number 1 of the GPS, can you put on the record regarding the April 21st, 24, did not return to your approved residence for your 9 p.m. curfew? What occurred?
Yes, well, that day that I got released from the halfway house, I was not told that I couldn't go to my significant other's residence when I got free from the halfway house. So I took it upon myself to go to my significant other's residence. So that's what I did.
Okay. The December 19th of 2024, the shutdown from 12:08 a.m. till 7:02 p.m., 6 hours and 54 minutes. Was there an issue with your unit, the wire?
Yes, it was. It was definitely was. And I mentioned it to Huda Banco 2 weeks prior to that. And he wound up going on vacation before he gave me the GPS. And on that date, that's when he gave me a new GPS on the 19th. So what's something wrong with that GPS?
You see the new unit on December 19th of 2024?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. That's when he gave it to me.
And the exhibit 10 that your significant other provided, I believe, that the wire with where the plug is, right in front of the plug. Is that a piece of duct tape that's on that?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Under program participation regarding the June 26, 2024, your IOP treatment provider contacted your parole officer that you missed your sessions. Could you elaborate on what happened on that one? If you recall.
Are you talking about the 3 sessions or are you talking about something else?
Talking about the June 26, 2024. Yeah, you missed 3 sessions.
That was the day that I talked to I talked to Tony. She excused me on that Monday, and he texted me and told me to return back to the IOP for Wednesday and Thursday. I mean, Tuesday and Wednesday. Those days are the days I was excused because I was sick. I have text messages in my phone stating that I was out sick. And he had seen me that Thursday and asked me about it, and I confirmed and told him. He said, okay. So he sent me text messages saying to return back on Tuesday and Wednesday, but I was out sick.
The sessions that you missed where the July 15th of 2024, your IOP clinician once again contacted your parole officer. You missed IOP session 6/3, 6/17. This is all of 2024. 6/18, 6/24, 7/8, 7/10, and 7/15. Were you working at that time?
I definitely was. I was leaving early. I was leaving at 11 o'clock. I was being excused by Tony to leave early at 11 o'clock. So I went from 9 to 11. She excused me for them times. She probably didn't say it, but she excused me because at 10:30 is break time. I left at 11.
And at some point, looks like July of 2024, did you complete some IOP outpatient program at CRT Behavioral Health Services?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Regarding, once again, Jesse, under charge number 3 under program participation, I'm not concerned about this particular one, but it has to be brought up. Regarding the dog in the apartment?
The dog was never in the house. The dog was outside on the sidewalk when 2 female officers came up unannounced. My dog was never in the house, never dog food, no nothing was in the house. No trace of the dog being in the house, no whatsoever.
All right. Was it your dog?
No, it was my significant other's dog. I was watching it for a dog on my doctor's appointment. And I told who the bank with the same thing that I told him.
You're aware you're not supposed to have pets at the halfway house, correct?
It wasn't at the house, it was at the Chrysalis Center.
I'm sorry, I did misspeak. At the Chrysalis Center. So you had your female friend's dog while she was at a doctor's appointment, correct?
Yes. Yes, I did. I was watching the dog for a doctor's appointment. And she came back and got the dog soon after.
How long was the dog there for?
Probably like an hour.
Oh, okay. Under obedience to the law, you agree with P.O. Hudabenko. It was 1 count of failure to register, received an unconditional discharge, and the other 2 counts were not. Is that correct? You agree with that? You were in court on February 10th of 2025?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. The under travel, the allegation you traveled out of state on July 10th of 2024 to Springfield, Massachusetts. Were you driving that particular day, Jesse?
No, I was not.
Who was driving?
Norma Martinez was.
Okay, and you were the passenger in the vehicle?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
And I didn't even know we was going to Springfield. I didn't even know we was going there. And I wouldn't have went there if I didn't know me on the GPS. Why would I go out of state with the GPS?
Correct. You beat me to my next question. You did have a GPS on your ankle on July 10th July 10th of 2024, correct?
Yes.
And you realize that is monitored. Your points of were you okay? My last question, Jesse, regarding the first part of the hearing, regarding the May 9th incident regarding your location in Bluefield High School from 6:07 p.m. until 7:53 p.m. Do you recall what occurred on that day?
I was at the Paco Center. I was over there shopping for some equipment, a power washer and a Wagner sprayer. I was trying to get funding from CRT from Matt. Matt was going to give me funding so I could start my power washing business. So I was shopping over there at the Lowe's and Home Depot. And we was at the shopping stores over there.
I don't have any other comments regarding the first part of the hearing. I do want to be heard about his background at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to confirm, any additional comments at this point, Officer Hudabenko, about the charges?
Sure. In regards to GPS, Mr. Goodwin signed his GPS agreement, which had the curfew of 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. on October 6, 2023. So he was well aware of what his curfew time was. He did not get released on 4/21, as counsel contended. He got released on 3/21/2024 from the halfway house to Chrysalis. So that was not, the day he was released from the halfway house and was unaware of what he was supposed to do in Chrysalis. And even if that were the case, he signed a misconduct acknowledging the behavior and knew that he was not to do that. In regards to the charger with the tape, he was provided with a new charger once he identified to me that that charger was damaged. However, His shutdown violation ended at 7:02 a.m. and my workday does not begin until 8 a.m. So the charger was perfectly functioning for him to get it out of shutdown violation and begin to get battery restored. So if it was as being explained that the charger could not charge the GPS, the shutdown never would have ended at 7:02 a.m. It would have ended when he came to the office, was provided a new charger, and it would have been later in the morning into the business day that Parole operates under. In regards to program participation, Mr. Goodwin is saying he's working during those days, that he was allowed to leave at the lunch period from IOP to go to work. Council has provided exhibits with pay stub verifications to show work, and none of those pay stubs show that he was working during the dates of that IOP. So if he was indeed working during that time, there should be some type of verification to show that. He did not show me as his parole officer any employment verification during that time, and he hasn't provided any for this hearing to make that argument. And finally, in regards to the travel, how he got to Massachusetts, frankly, is irrelevant. He didn't have permission to drive a motor vehicle, so I'm glad to hear he wasn't driving. But even if he's a passenger in a car, he knows he's not to leave the state of Connecticut without permission. And once he was aware he was in Massachusetts, he should have notified me of that case, and it would have just been a different conversation. If it was, in fact, as he's saying, Norma surprised him by taking him to Springfield, Massachusetts, and he was unaware that that was the case. This behavior was only addressed when I reviewed his GPS points and saw that he had traveled out of state. So I don't have anything further. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel.
I don't have anything else to add.
Just gonna take a moment and I'll announce my findings. So on charge number 1, Mr. Goodwin, I am making a finding that you violated the condition of GPS based on the state's exhibits, provided state's exhibits in the evidence provided in support of the charge, and that's in state's exhibits A, D, G, I, and N. I am also finding that you violated the condition of charge number 2, condition of curfew based on state's exhibits A, D, and G, as well as I. On charge number 3, I find that you violated the condition of program participation based on state's exhibits A, D, G, K, and N. On charge number 4, I find that you violated the condition of obedience to law based on your conviction of failure to register on 2/10/2025 when you were sentenced to unconditional discharge. In addition, state's exhibits A, D, E, and F support the charge. For charge number 5, I find that you violated the condition of drugs based on the evidence provided in support of the charge, which is exhibits A, D, G, and H. On charge number 6, I also found that you violated the condition of travel based on state's exhibits A, D, and M. Charge number 7, I find that you violated the condition of no consumption of alcoholic beverages based on state's exhibits A, D, G, H, and L. And lastly, on charge number 8, I find that you violated the condition of problem sexual behavior treatment based on state's exhibits A, D, G, J, and that is all. So that does conclude the fact-finding portion of today's hearing. Before I make my recommendation, the state will have an opportunity to speak to your background and history. Once the state is finished, you will have the same opportunity. The purpose of this part of the revocation hearing is to help determine whether determine what outcome I recommend. Dr. Hudabanka, would you like to make a comment regarding Mr. Goodwin's violation, background, history at this time?
Just as I said earlier, these 7 other charges within this parole violation report, I think, just display the disregard that he's had for his parole conditions throughout his supervision. The continued use of alcohol and continued use of cocaine, despite him acknowledging himself in the decision information summary that he knew that those substances were a problem for him and led to him committing his instant offense. he continues to use them while on parole. Even today here at this hearing, I get the impression he's placing some of the blame onto Norma for him being out of state when he alone is responsible for his own actions. I just think, we're looking at an individual who's disregarding the courts by not verifying his address with Connecticut State Police, and he's disregarding virtually every agreement that he signed on parole, from his parole agreement to his GPS monitoring agreement to his multiple treatment agreements. But yeah, I've nothing further.
Thank you. Counsel?
Yes, on behalf of Mr. Goodwin, my client is 44 years old. If my paperwork is correct here, this is his first violation. I'm showing he was paroled on January 18th of 2023, not remanded until January 2nd, 2025. He does have one child. He does have granted supervision through the courts. He indicated to us he does see his daughter on the weekends. On his previous release, he did report to us he was at the Connection Residential Sexual Behavior Program in Uncasville, and he was at the Community Solutions Halfway House, the Stein House, back in 2023. As far as work, he's indicated to us full-time selector FHI located in Manchester. He was there for about a year until he was laid off. He worked full-time seasonal for the Nelson Landscaping Company in Bloomfield for approximately 6 months, and also worked full-time seasonal job at Allstate Landscaping in Britain. He was employed at the time of his remand. I do have documentation I provided, despite he was not a registered business. He should provide us proof of the power washer he bought at the hardware store, and indicated to us him and Miss Martinez did establish a power washing and gutter cleaning business under Norma's Power Washing Company LLC, which is fine. He did establish primary care at Community Health Services, as I indicated. Looks like he in July 29th of 2024, he did receive a certificate of accomplishment SCRT Behavioral Health Services intensive patient program there. So he was involved in some treatment. He did indicate to us PCS, reported to us that proved being placed at the Wings of Hope, the Sober House in Middletown. I did provide you with the individual's name and phone number, which is the Exhibit 8 that we submitted, but with the understanding that people who the bank was going to be charged where he ends up ultimately once hopefully he's reinstated. He does want to enroll at Allstate Commercial Driving School to obtain a CDL license. He's also reported to us he has a job opportunity at UPS sorting mail in Windsor from 5 to 1 a.m. But that was the Exhibit 9 we provided, and obviously he is eager to reunite with his family. And he is amenable to treatment recommendations. And I don't believe any of my comments here regarding his alcohol and drug use, and not minimizing that, and provide any evidence that he's denying that there is an issue with that. That was never put on a record. So he knows he has to deal with that, and he is amenable to all treatment recommendations. As I indicated, it's his first violation. Showing him out almost for approximately 2 years. Obviously, there was some issues here. He did receive an unconditional discharge in court. Thank you.
Thank you. You know my recommendation in a moment. So I have listened to the testimony today. I've also reviewed all of the evidence submitted. Based on that, I am going to recommend your parole be revoked, Mr. Goodwin, and that you serve an approximate 6-month period of confinement as a sanction. That's with the re-parole date of June 3rd, 2025. In addition, I'm recommending the following conditions: no alcoholic beverage consumption, mental health evaluation, no contact with minors, problem sexual behavior treatment, I do have the sponsor, Officer Hudabenko. Should I also do a halfway house placement? I feel like I read somewhere that it's been confirmed, the sponsor.
Please, yeah, please do, because I actually, these exhibits is the first I'm hearing of a sober house. No one brought that to my attention, so,
Okay.
if we could also have the halfway house placement as a, secondary, while I'll explore the sober house option.
Can we, Jesse, what, with the understanding, you've already put on a record, who the bank is gonna be in charge of where you ultimately get placement in your first release. What part of the state for the halfway house? Where do you want to be? What part of the state?
Well, from my understanding, they already went by the sober house and the parole people already approved the Middletown sober house already prior to me, us bringing it up. So that's been already approved.
But Officer Hudabenko already made his statement, so we just need it just in case.
Pick a part of the state, Jesse, just until the things get squared away.
As far as what, my location?
Yes.
I prefer to, as far as my secondary or my first dairy. Is he gonna be a fire PO when I leave out of here?
All right. My question is, what part of the state for backup plan do you want to be located in?
I want Middletown.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a halfway house placement stipulation as well. And that is my recommendation. I'm gonna forward it to the board on March 6th, 2025. Mr. Goodwin, on that date, the board can do a few things. They can either adopt my recommended sanction. They can also do one less than what I've recommended, or if they wanted see you again to impose a sanction longer than what I've recommended, that's a possibility. If that does happen, you'll be notified of it because there will be a supplemental hearing for you to be present for it to answer their questions and concerns, okay? Do you have any questions at this moment, Mr. Goodwin?
Yes, so what is the recommendation? I'm going to sober house, or y'all trying to put me in a halfway house?
She put down recommendation is 6 months with a release date of June 3rd. It's going to the board, as I explained to you when I spoke to you, March 6th, the board has the final say. They can adopt the recommendation. They give you more, they give you less. If you call our office, that March 6th board reviews, Jesse, are always on Thursdays. If you call our office the next day on March 7th, you get a call either Friday or that following Monday. One of my secretaries can give you the information via telephone before you get it in writing, so you know what's going on down the road, okay? First part. Second part is, to answer your question, is she made the recommendation of that Wings of Hope. Hudabenko indicated he's not aware of that. He's gonna look into that if I'm understanding correctly. That's a possibility, yes. If not, your choice of being located in the halfway house in the Middletown area until the other situation gets squared away. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. Call our office if you can. The following day, we get the info before you get it in writing, okay? So if you want to know what's going on, call us March 7th, which is a Friday, or call us that Monday.
So I gotta call you before March?
March 7th. Don't call us before that, and we won't have the information before March 7th, Jesse. First day we'll have it is March 7th.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Hudabenko.
This concludes the final revocation review
Thank you.
for Jesse Goodwin, inmate number 280348. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
You as well, thank you.
Hi, I'm so sorry, Mr. Rivera. We're running a little behind today, okay?
Sorry.
All right, so I just need, your attorney is in another hearing. Once he's finished, we'll get going, okay?
Okay,
All right, thank you.
welcome.
There you go.
Good morning, Christian.
Good morning.
All right, Ms. Rivera, we're gonna get started, okay?
Okay.
All right, great. So good morning, I'm Parole Officer Tricello, and I'm a hearing examiner for the Board of Pardons and Paroles. And this is a preliminary hearing concerning Christian Rivera, inmate number 435710. Today is Monday, February 24th, 2025, and this hearing is being conducted via video at the Board of Pardons and Paroles Central Office at Bridgeport Correctional Center. Can you please state your full name and DOC inmate number for the record?
Christian Rivera, 435710.
Thank you. This is a public hearing and public access to this hearing is available via video live stream. Present this morning is Attorney Famiglietti. Can you please identify yourself for the record?
Yes, Attorney Robert Famiglietti, Public Defender from the Parole Revocation Unit.
Thank you. So this is a preliminary hearing which has three purposes under Connecticut law. The first is to determine if there's probable cause to believe you committed an act that violated the conditions of your parole. The second is to determine if the act is sufficiently serious to warrant the revocation of your parole. And the third is to determine if you should be held in prison pending further proceedings. The state, not you, has a responsibility to show that there's probable cause to believe you violated one or more of the conditions of your parole. If I do not find probable cause, I will reinstate your parole, which means releasing you and placing you back on parole supervision. If I find probable cause and determine that the act is sufficiently serious to warrant revocation, you may be held in prison pending further proceedings. You should know that a preliminary hearing is an adversarial proceeding, and anything you say at this hearing can't be used against you. This hearing is also being recorded. The testimony at today's hearing will be taken under oath. Mr. Rivera, can you please raise your right hand?
Sorry?
Raise your right hand.
Yeah, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear, solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury.
I do.
Thank you. Yep, you're all set. You can put your hand down. Thanks. So we're going to go over the procedure for today's hearing. First, I'm going to read you your rights. Then we'll review the parole violation charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you. We'll then review and identify the exhibits that have been filed for the record. The state is not present at today's proceedings. However, you will have an opportunity to address the issue of probable cause and the severity of the allegations. At the conclusion of the hearing, I will inform you of my findings, which will be based on the available evidence. Do you have any questions about the purpose or procedure before we begin?
I do not.
So we're going to go over your rights for today's hearing. So first, you have the right to be represented by attorney, and counsel is here present for you. You also have the right to receive written notice of charges of violation. Did you receive the written notice?
Yes, I did.
Great. So you also have the right to review the evidence against you before this hearing. You have the right to submit evidence in support of your case. You have the right to call and examine voluntary witnesses, and you also have the right to cross-examine adverse witnesses. Do you understand these rights, and are you ready to go forward?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. We're going to review the charges that the state, your parole officer, is bringing against you, and the information underlying each charge. So for charge number 1, condition of residence, the charging officer reported that on 1/22/2025 at 8:40 a.m. you signed out to go to GED class at Career Resources and was scheduled to return at 12:30 p.m. You did not return to your approved address. At 1:55 p.m. you were contacted by House Monitor and stated that you were almost in a car accident and was on your way back to your approved residence. You never returned. Your whereabouts were unknown until you turned yourself in at the Bridgeport Parole District Office on 1/31/2025. On charge number 2, condition of drugs. On 1/8/2025, you tested positive at Isaiah House for cocaine. This puts you in violation of your assigned conditions, stating I will not use or have in my possession or control any illegal drugs, narcotic or drug paraphernalia, firearms, ammunition, or any other weapons. On 1/16/2025, during reporting, you admitted to using cocaine. This puts you in violation of your assigned conditions that specifically state through your period of parole, you are prohibited from the consumption of alcoholic beverages. Okay. You also violated your conditions that state I will not use or have in my possession or control any illegal drugs, narcotic or drug paraphernalia, firearms, ammunition, or any other weapons. On January 31st, 2025, you arrived and surrendered to this officer. You admitted to using heroin. You signed a voluntary admission form admitted to heroin use. This puts you in violation of your assigned conditions that specifically state throughout the period of your period on parole, you're prohibited from the consumption of alcoholic beverages. You also violated your conditions that state I will not use or have in my possession or control any illegal drugs, narcotic or drug paraphernalia, firearms, ammunition, or any other weapons. Charge number 3, condition of halfway house placement. The charging officer reported that on January 7th, 2025, a tour and perimeter check were conducted by staff located at Isaiah House at 9:30 p.m. At that time, you weren't accounted for and your whereabouts in the community were unknown. You left your parole approved address without permission or program completion. Therefore, you have violated condition 7. The state has also filed doc exhibits that I have remarked for identification purposes. Did I just add again? I might have just added again. We'll see. So I have Exhibit A, remand to actual custody order. Exhibit B, a parole violation report. Exhibit C, a notice of parole violation. Exhibit D, a notice of parolee rights. Exhibit E, the signed PCS conditions. Exhibit F, the Isaiah House Incident Report 1/7/2025, 1/8/2025, and 1/22/2025. Exhibit G, the Redwood Toxicology Laboratory Report. Exhibit H, the signed voluntary admission forms. Exhibit I, the misconducts, and then I have Exhibit J, the halfway house agreement. Did not receive the halfway house agreement? I'm identifying it as that. It wasn't part of the packet.
Okay,
You're saying you did not get it?
that is an exhibit, no.
No, not as an exhibit. They did not label it.
Okay.
Is it, you're okay with admitting it? Well, do you have it in your packet? Because it was in the packet.
Okay.
It just wasn't identified.
Okay, well, it wasn't identified. So if it's not identified, I don't believe it could be admitted.
Okay.
That's my position.
Okay, so I'm gonna make note of that. And I'm gonna take a quick recess. I'll be right back. I am so sorry. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, so I am back on the record. I did just want to confirm, I did receive the halfway house agreement as part of the evidence. I am identifying it as Exhibit J. We did email it to your office on 2/11. Would you like to review it or would you like?
No, I haven't. It's just that it's not identified and there's obviously a purpose for identifying evidence. So when you say what it is and what it purports to be, so our objection is it shouldn't come in.
Okay.
If it's not identified. So it's high time there's no burden of putting forward any evidence. You just say.
Well, they did submit it, so I am identifying it myself and I have as Exhibit J. So counsel, did you and your client receive the notice of parole violation, the parole violation report and all the other documents?
Yes.
Okay, great. And I have not received any exhibits from the defense. Is that accurate?
Yes, it's probably.
So at this time, we have no witnesses. So it is the defense's opportunity to respond, make a short statement, call any witnesses, and testify with respect to probable cause.
Yes, as to as the charge one, there's absolutely no evidence. He changed his residence between January 22nd and January 31st. He actually spoke with them on January 31st, so he was accounted for on January 31st. He actually spoke with Parole on January 22nd. So we're talking about 7 days where they are alleging that he changed his residence and left the halfway house, but there's no evidence that between 122 and 130 that he changed his residence. As to count two, I have no comment. As to count three, halfway house place, they're saying his whereabouts were unknown as of and after January 7th. Well, if you look at charge 2 on January 8th, he reported to give a positive cocaine urine. So obviously his whereabouts were unknown. So I don't believe the probable cause exists for charge 3. As to the seriousness of these allegations, he allegedly responded and reported on January 31st, admitting that he had used heroin. He clearly has a drug problem. We have a positive from 1/8, an admission from 1/16, 8 days later, and an admission on 1/31. He was paroled on 12/17/20. No, I believe, yes, he was paroled on 12/17/24. He relapsed. It's my belief that this should have been a top referral. He was referred on January 8th for IOP. There wasn't enough time between January 8th and January 31st. They chose to remand him rather than wait to get him into an IOP. There's no allegations whatsoever between January 8th and allegedly January 22nd, where they're claiming he changed his residence, that he didn't comply at all with that IOP. We don't know if it started. He's clearly relapsed. Any recommendation that he be totally revoked until June, I think, is draconian. We have no other evidence that he's ever violated before in this report. What the gentleman needs is drug treatment. He's a very young man. He's not a violent man whatsoever. Thank you for your time and consideration. I don't believe this is serious enough to go forward with the revocation. What he needs is the top program and or an opportunity to do the referral for an IOP, not be remanded.
So on charge number 1, condition of residence, I am making a finding of probable cause based on state's exhibits B, E, and F. On charge number 2, I have identified this charge as 3 section parts. So for part 1, dated 1/8/2025, and part 2, dated 1/16/2025, I'm making a no finding of probable cause. As the state failed to submit sufficient evidence in support of the charge and the elements were not met. So for part 3, dated 1/31/2025, I am making a finding of probable cause based on state's exhibits B, E, and H, as well as I. On charge number 3, condition of halfway house placement, I'm also making a no finding of probable cause based on because the state failed to submit sufficient evidence in support of the charge and elements were not met. However, I am finding out the acts are serious enough to warrant revocation. So I've determined that you should be detained while you await your revocation hearing, and the records facility at the records office at the facility, as well as your parole officer, will be informed of that finding. And at the revocation hearing, myself or another hearing examiner will determine if you violated the conditions of your parole. And if so, the hearing examiner will make a recommendation regarding whether your parole should be revoked and if any sanction should be imposed.
Okay, sir, they have 60 days. Since this is a technical violation, they have 60 business days from the date of your remand, which is January 31st, to schedule the next hearing. Since this is not a very complicated matter, hopefully they'll schedule your hearing soon. Okay, and hopefully we can get you out into some treatment soon. Take whatever advantage you can of any treatment opportunities while you're incarcerated, meetings or something like that. Okay, sir?
All right, thank you.
Good luck, Mr. Rivera.
This concludes the
Thanks.
preliminary hearing. Thank you for Christian Rivera, inmate number 435710. You're all set, Mr. Rivera. Good luck, okay?
Thank you. Have a good day.
Do it soon, hopefully. Thanks.